Today, let's share a story about Michelle Blair, a female who murdered her own 2 children. It was in 2015 and Michelle was 35 years old. She was a mother of 4 and she was living in the east side of Detroit with her 4 children. Michelle was unemployed and she had been struggling financially. Her relatives did indicate that she had previously asked them for money at some point. It then got to a point whereby Michelle was being evicted for not paying rent. So on the 24th of March 2015, the eviction crew visited Michelle's home and apparently Michelle was not at home on that day. So the crew went inside and they started removing the furniture from the house. However, as they were busy doing these movements, they stumbled upon a horrifying discovery in Michelle's deep freezer. When the sheriff opened the deep freezer, which was in Michelle's living room, they discovered 2 frozen bodies. One was a teenage girl wrapped in a large plastic bag, and beneath her was another body of a young boy wrapped in a blanket. Upon hearing that, one of the neighbors did not even waste time in disclosing where Michelle was. She was then found at another neighbor's house with her other children, aged 8 and 17. However, her other children, Stephanie and Stoney, were missing at this point. So after some brief questioning, Michelle confessed to unaliving the 2 kids and putting them in her deep freezer. When she was being handcuffed, Michelle told the police that she wasn't evil, it was just an evil act that she did. Meanwhile, the authorities took the bodies to a morgue where they had to melt the bodies for about 3 days before they can perform an autopsy. The bodies were later identified as Stephanie Berry and Stoney Blair, and the medical examiner ruled their death homicide, forced trauma, and thermal injuries. It was then determined that Stephanie was killed in August 2012 at the age of 9 and Stoney was killed in May 2013 at the age of 13, and they had been in the freezer for over 2 years. Michelle confessed to the murders at court. She then also mentioned that she killed the demons after finding out that they were sexually abusing her youngest son. This is a claim that has never been proven true. So this is how the 2 teenagers suffered a fatal death from the hands of their own mother. Michelle said one day in August 2012, she walked into a room of her youngest son simulating sexual activities using toys. Michelle was shocked by this and she went on to ask the younger boy if anyone had ever touched him that way. The younger boy allegedly told her mother Michelle that yes, the 9-year-old brother Stephanie had touched him like that before. After hearing that, Michelle was angry and Michelle stormed into Stephanie's room, and after allegedly Stephanie confessed to sexually abusing his younger brother, Michelle immediately began punching him and kicking him. She then also continued to starve him, making him drink Windex, strangling him with a plastic bag, and repeatedly pouring hot water on his genitals, causing his skin to peel off. This took place for about 2 weeks. At some point, Michelle wrapped a belt around his neck and lifted Stephanie up and asked him a question of, "Do you like how this feels?" Poor child. Michelle used false flex bags to put over his nose and mouth, suffocating Stephanie until he lost his life. After Michelle realizes that he is unresponsive, she wrapped his body in a blanket and hid him in the deep freezer. Stephanie succumbed to his injuries on the 30th of August 2012. 9 months later, after Michelle murdered Stephanie, Michelle was not done. She found out that her younger old daughter, 13 years old Stoney, was raping her youngest son. She did the same thing of continuously asking the youngest son if Stoney is sexually abusing him. The younger son continued to say no until Michelle threatened the younger boy that he would beat him if he didn't tell the truth. Michelle began starving Stoney and brutally torturing her until she died in May 2013. According to the petition that was out, Michelle had punched Stoney in the face a lot, beat her with a 2x4, and suffocating her with a garbage bag until she lost her life. Later, Michelle claimed that while killing Stephanie was an accident, she had meant to kill Stoney. These are Michelle's words. "I don't feel no remorse for the death of them demons," Michelle said. She additionally said at first she cried after killing them, but she would definitely kill them again if she was given a chance to. Michelle put Stoney's body in a plastic bag and put her body in the deep freezer on top of Stephanie's body. She continued with her life as if nothing happened. The two kids were in the deep freezer for almost 3 years. No one looked for them. The children's fathers were largely absent from their lives, and Michelle had previously taken all of them out of school. When neighbors asked about their children's whereabouts, Michelle always had an excuse about the children. Michelle indicated to the judge that she did not feel any remorse over her actions, hence there's no excuse for rape. No evidence of rape was found, hence Michelle's oldest child did mention that there was no concrete evidence. Furthermore, she said that her mother was obsessed with the narrative that her siblings had sexually assaulted the youngest brother. She further claimed that the youngest brother only told her mother about the allegedly sexual assault because he did not know any better, as Michelle continuously interrogated the younger brother. Michelle's oldest daughter further indicated that her mother was a ticking time bomb. These are Michelle's daughter's words. "I made sure that whatever that I say around my mother, I should be very cautious because one mistake, I would also end up in the deep freezer. I was even afraid to walk by the freezer. Every time I came downstairs to eat breakfast or play a video game, I had to walk right past the freezer." Michelle continued to torture her daughter Gabby and her younger brother even after the death of Stephanie and Stoney. She was repeatedly burned with a curling iron and beaten with a wooden plank, and she was constantly terrified about this. Michelle's daughter mentioned that she is glad she made it out alive. Gabby Blair, who is Michelle's oldest daughter, and her younger brother went to live with their great aunt after their mother's conviction. They both went to school and the young boy was eventually adopted. They had since been in therapy to deal with the trauma and abuse they faced at the hands of their own mother. In June 2015, Michelle pleaded guilty to 1 count of first-degree premeditated murder and 1 count of felony murder. She is now serving a life sentence at Huron Valley Correctional Facility without any possible parole.